Hey guys, welcome to Classic Bahnstormers. It's the last Friday of the month, and as promised, I am going to be doing a tea stroll around the workshop on the last Friday of every month. So today we're starting down in the technicians' workshops, and we're just going to walk you through what we've got here. So we're going to focus on just a couple of cars this time rather than kind of walk around every single project. So down here at the moment, we've got a couple of E12 M535i's. Both cars we look after on a regular basis, and we kind of see them every year or every other year. This one is in for a brake overhaul, effectively. We've put new servos on it. We've had the calipers rebuilt, discs, pads, handbrake shoes, all the fitting kits. It is being a bit troublesome to bleed, but that's servo brakes for you. So this one's on and off the 4-post at the moment, having the brake work done. I will just pop the bonnet. I think I did show the servos in the last video, so we won't worry about that too much. Elixir's in for a steering box rebuild. There's quite a lot of play in the box and a couple of other bits and pieces, but we've done a lot of work on this car over the last, I would say, 3-4 years, and it's really up together now. So we've kind of moved on from the original appraisal that we did to kind of really going through the kind of the nice bits and pieces to make this a really, really nice car. The owner does use it for regularity rallies, so he's really keen to get absolutely all the, the steering, the brakes as on point as they can be. The brakes we did a year or so ago, but the steering box, it went from having a little bit of slop in it, and we adjusted it out, and all of a sudden it's just got absolutely tons in it. So a steering box rebuild is kind of what we've had to do on this one. Come with me, and we'll go into next door Site C, and I can show you some of the other stuff we are doing. So currently we've got this rear axle here out, which is having a kind of semi-basic overhaul. It's having axle carrier bushes, drop links, camber limiters, which you can't see they're underneath, flexies and so on. And this will go back into the red 635 that is on the fabrication ramp up in Site A. So if we come through this way. In here, we've got the red E30 Touring that in the last episode of T-Stroll was in the fabrication bay being sealed underneath. So back on its wheels now, the axles have been rebuilt. I was sort of hoping this car would be on a ramp so I could show you a bit more about what has been done to it, but unfortunately not. The front valance has gone back on, the lights are in. If you just poke the camera in the car, you can see. So this is the very beginning of putting the car back together. We have put we're putting all new sound deadening in. We're putting all the cables back in the car, all the wiring looms back in the door. We've got loads of pieces in the back there, bits of trim that have either been painted, body color or black to go back on the car, but this is the genesis of the rebirth. Now, in the comments, somebody asked me what was happening with the 3s that we pulled out of the barn back in the summer. So we pulled 2 3-litre SIs out of a barn in Hampshire back in the summer. Those cars, with the red one, the original owner has decided to keep and pay us. We have a commission to restore that car. The green one, the Tiger Green car, which is behind me, was sold in either the very end of September or October. And the gentleman who bought it has commissioned us to restore it. For one reason or another, we've ended up doing this one first, and we have pretty well stripped the car. And what we're going to do with this car is put a 5-speed conversion from a later E12 based, so it's still got the cable drive for the speedo in it. It's an E12 based 5-speed gearbox. So this morning the guys have been doing the drive fit on this car. So we've got in the engine, the 5-speed transmission. So the old 4-speed is on the floor down there. And you can see it's much shorter in the body than this 5-speed transmission. So this is a cable drive 5-speed from a Series 1, well it actually came out of the Series 1 E24. So far so good, everything's lining up as we expected it to. A couple of bits and pieces that we need to sort, mostly the prop. So down here, we have the prop that we're going to modify, and you can see the guys have written some notes on that yellow piece of tape. So, last but not least, we have the 745. This is the South African import car with the M88 engine in it. The car, we've done quite a bit of work on this car since it came in, including a timing chain. There's lots and lots and lots of little pieces. The car's in really nice condition. It was sold new from South Africa to a Japanese client, I believe. It spent some time in Japan where it was federalized, and then it went on to New Zealand, where it was for quite a long time, a decade or more. The current owner bought it and had it shipped over from New Zealand. He's had it for over 10 years, I believe, and it's just been, mostly kind of waiting around for someone to do it. It was started elsewhere, and unfortunately, the company that started it were not able to continue the job, I believe for health reasons. So he started looking around for somebody new, and he found us. So this is right in my right in our wheelhouse. I love E23s. I have an E23 myself. There will shortly be a video going up where I wax lyrically about E23s. And obviously this is a super rare car with the M88 engine in it. They only made these for the South African market. As I say, we've done a timing chain on this, renewed all the coolant hoses, which was quite tricky because there are some 745 specific ones. A lot of the part numbers don't cross over. So a lot of time cross-referencing parts, getting the physical items and trying to match them to stuff. Obviously, we've done a foam kit on the bonnet. The car's had a very, very small amount of welding, which was done to the rear screen. So it's recently come back from paint, and we're just doing the refit. Standard E23 problems. The HVAC heating system, which I know a lot of people are quite intimidated by, but I guess because I've had E23s and I've had to do it, we've done a few here now. So yeah, the final piece of the puzzle on this car is the ABS. So these cars run effectively Series 2 front suspension, but Series 1 rear suspension. So by Series 1, I mean it's more or less E12 based. But the car, it was 7 Series or E23 specific, the very early models had ABS. And the rear sensor on these Series 1 rear ends is specific to E23s only. We think we've come up with a solution for this now, but I have been looking and looking and looking for sensors as they've been in LA for a long time. If somebody happens to have a new one in the box, then please get in contact. But I think we have got a solution for it now. This car is super well spec'd, quite apart from the beautiful color and the wonderful oyster interior. It has self-leveling. And the self-leveling has been draining the battery. So had a battery drain, the body shop, the paint shop complained that the battery kept dying, but we have now managed to, as ever, it's never one thing, it's always a couple of things. So self-leveling relay and the radio. Going back to the E3 quickly. So the car has effectively been stripped out. I don't really know how best I can show you, but there's no interior in it. Obviously, you can see the lights and stuff are missing. Most of the trim is off. And this is basically the last bit of dry fit before it goes up to the fabrication guys. It's really quite good underneath. So most of the rust you can see, obviously the sills are shot. Obviously that front panel is shot, but we have managed to collect quite a few panels for this. But underneath, it is surprisingly good. So wheel tubs, floors, axle carrier, inner triangle, mounts, all the sort of things we normally point out. I mean, look at these relief strips on this sill, all the way along, pretty perfect. The floors, the chassis rails are good, the floor corners, what we have is mostly, kind of relatively rectifiable. It's mostly going to be the stuff you see on this car, the bodywork on top. So the next phase, now I think we're pretty happy with the dry fit. The next phase will be to whip off the front and rear axle, take off the last few bits of trim, and then it'll be on its way up to the fabrication building, where we're going to cut some bits off the outer seals, which are obviously ruined, that front panel, So we can just, when it goes off to be blasted, we can get our money's worth and make sure we get in as many areas as possible. So that's the technicians. Let's go up to fab. Cool, right, here we are up in the fabrication department. So like I said, I'm not going to go around all the projects this time, but I am going to go around, we'll do a little bit on this Grey 6 series, we'll talk about the M5, and we'll go and look at the red one that's nearly finished. So, talked about this car. We literally just started the last time we filmed. You can see that we've cleaned up the areas to be repaired. Surprisingly, these are actually quite a lot better than we were expecting. So there are holes in both sides, and this steel structure is rusty, but actually above it's pretty good, and even behind it's pretty good. So not quite as rotten as expected. This side, however, so around the back, we looked at the axle carrier points. Again, the inner triangle area is actually not too bad. This is an unfortunate case of probably, before this car was done the first time, it wasn't too bad. And then somebody covered it, well, they did this and made it not fit very well. And then they welded that in underneath it. And then they covered it all in this. As you can see, that is quite a thickness of filler. And all that does is continue to let the rust that's there rust. So there is quite a lot to do. 6 Series has got really complicated inner structures. The drainage for the rear windows is bordering on moronic. They basically come down a great big, the water comes down the window, rolls down the window into what is effectively a great big ski ramp, which sends all the water forwards. The idea being that when you're then going down the road, the water comes back this way and drains out of the rear sills. But in reality, what tends to happen is this whole area remains moist. And because it's so complex and there's so many layers, it just rots away. So unfortunately, when we get into doing 6 Series rear sills, they often do become quite large jobs. However, the owner of this car is getting away with the axle carrier points. They are, well, this one is actually really, really good. And the welding required for the closing part of the sill, not too bad either. So that's that one. What else have we got? So, I think I got it wrong last time, but E28, this is an E28 M5 shell. 106. So 106, as I said last time, it's had a lot of welding. It's a car that was known to us. It was one of the 2 that was sold new out of Dick Levitt Swindon. I have ex-Dick Levitt technicians working here, 2 of which actually worked on this car back in the day. So yeah, it has had a lot of welding. So last time we were showing you down this side, the sill section was all open, but you can see that's all gone in now. The front floor corner has been repaired, and basically all this area in the last video was a great big tatty rusty mess, much like this. So the reason it's on its side now, and we've built this A-frame, is that shortly this chassis rail is coming out. We have a nice new replacement one over there on the floor from BMW, and given the state of this rail, and in fact what you can't see is the other side, it is going to have most of a rail. It's also having a new slam panel, but that's more of an economic choice because it's cheaper to put a new front panel on than it is for us to repair. The next one I wanted to show you is this Red 65 TSI. It's kind of had a lot of the same repairs in the rear that the grey one had that I was showing you, but this one's all kind of finished. So we went around this car in the last T-stroll. Scott was just doing the work. So come around this way, you can see it's going back together, the rear axle's gone back in, but this is, in the end, the client gave us permission to do the wheel arches and the rot that was here, which was a really good shout, because obviously we've got to paint the car anyway. The painters we use won't paint over rust, so that would have been a sticking point. But yeah, so all this lower section, the wheel tub, there is no filling here. This is just bare steel. So this is bare. This is steel covered in a primer, in a very zinc-heavy primer. Scott rebuilt the rear light apertures. They were particularly poor on this car. It's very common on Highline 6s for these to rot out. Not so much on the early ones. Number plate aperture holes. Same on this side. I don't think this had any rear panel work, did it? No rear panel work.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, a little bit in the number plate.
A little bit in the number plate. Oh yeah. Evidently at some point somebody had locked themselves out of the boot and then drilled a hole behind the number plate. So that's what it was, wasn't it? Yeah. So same this side really. The lower rear quarter, the arch, and the rear quarter here. Now that is a real understatement. The car has had all the inner that I showed you on the grey car, all the kind of inner assembly. It's had the inner triangles, the axle carrier points, I'd say slightly less than a third of the rear of the sill, drain holes, inner rear wheel arches, so up in here has all also had to be repaired. This car had been done before, and it was obviously done with a bit of a short-term view. So this one is now going back together. It will obviously go off to be painted, and then to the technicians to proceed with its mechanical recommission. So the aim for this one is to get it up together, safe, reliable, through an MOT. So that's the T-Stroll for this month, and we'll see you on the next one.